Hi, this is Jacob with Triple Falls, and we're doing another TF cast today. We're here with Mankato legend Fuzzy. He is the I don't want to. You're the owner of FuzzTalkRadio.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, it's
That's true.
It's your child.
Yeah.
FuzzTalk, FuzzJock as well. Are those separate or are they together?
That's a separate show.
Separate show,
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah. So Fuzz Talk Radio is a online internet radio station that has different shows hosted by local people, different hosts, and then has music that plays 24 hours, 7 days a week. So it's basically a radio station only on the internet.
Right on.
And FuzzJock Radio is one of those shows that broadcasts on Monday nights at 10:30 p.m.
KMSU, right?
No,
Or that one's not on KMSU?
no, none of this is on KMSU.
None of them are KMSU now. Okay. All right.
Okay, once again, FuzzTalkRadio.com is an internet radio station that plays music 24 hours, 7 days a week with different shows hosted by different people throughout the week. We have Dagger Radio on Sunday nights from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. FuzzJock Radio, which is our sports podcast that goes live on Monday nights at 10:30 p.m. And then is downloadable as a podcast on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, whatever, the next day. And then we have a show that's currently on hiatus, which usually runs at 10:30 a.m. on Thursdays, The Rabbit Hole. We rebroadcast the Ethan Cleric podcast show on Friday nights. And then our friend Barry, who has his show on hiatus right now, has a show called Dungeon with Easy B, which is like an all-metal show. And then separate from Fuzz Talk Radio, I'm also myself is on KMSU on Friday nights at 6.
Okay.
Which KMSU has no association with Fuzz Talk Radio, and Fuzz Talk Radio has no association with KMSU. It's just that I'm a host on a show on KMSU.
Oh.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Back to your intro, Jake.
Yeah, well, I was about to segue into asking what shows do you all host, but you really stuck that one.
Yeah, that's basically what we got going on right now. In the past, I've Fuzz Talk Radio, and I usually say we as multiple person entity, but Fuzz Talk Radio is just basically me and then the hosts that do the shows. But Fuzz Talk Radio in the past has had other shows. There was a time frame where we were running about 8 live shows just on the radio once a week, or 8 live shows a week. And then along with that, Fuzz Talk Radio books live venue shows for musicians and artists around the Mankato and southern Minnesota area. But yeah, we've been running for 10 years. It started up in 2010, and then I think my last count, the total number of radio shows that we've gone through is we're right around 20, counting up to about 25, 26 different shows.
Wow. When Fuzz Talk Radio was still an idea in 2010, what was pushing you to go internet radio? Were you just organizing shows and you wanted to name to the face, or?
It all just kind of started on almost kind of just on a whim. Like before 2010, I was part of a production label that was based out of the Twin Cities, and we had 2 main groups and then three solo acts that played shows throughout the region, and we went on tour a couple times out to New York and a bunch of different things.
Ooh.
I have no idea why that phone would be ringing.
I'll just go stop it.
Yeah. So, for anyone who might be confused, there's a phone. Did you just take it off the hook?
You just
I just hung it up.
Oh, yeah, probably the best.
So yeah,
You did a little touring.
Yeah.
What was the genre of those groups and people?
We were a hip hop production label. Before 2010, I started out helping Professor Fresh back in early 2000, the early 2000s, because he started doing hip hop and stuff, and then we met a couple guys from the cities, and we formed a production label, and then in that production label we had two main groups, Ruthless and PLC, and then three solo acts, Professor Fresh, Ilpo, and MC Rents. And through the production label, we were able, a couple times, we're able to tour out to New York with all expenses paid trip by a sponsoring company that lined up shows on the way out to New York and on the way back. We played at multiple big festivals, and one of our groups at one of those festivals got second place in this big contest or whatever. And then 2010 or 2019 or 2009, everything kind of just broke up, and we all just kind of dismantled and went our separate ways. And during that time, I was going out with somebody, and we had broken up, so I found myself without a production label and without a girlfriend anymore, and just fell in a really deep depression. And I don't know. One day I just kind of sat down with myself, and I just was thinking, Fuzzy, man, like, this is not you. Like, you're a lot. You got to get something going. You have to. What's going on is that all I'm doing is going to work. Like, I was working at Verizon Wireless at the time, and like a tech support, and so I was just 8 hours a day getting yelled at about people's cell phones being broken and stuff like that, and just like, I need a project, I need to do something. And during that time of my depression, I found myself going down to the Sugar Room a lot, which is a venue that has closed down right around 2011 or so. But I found myself going to the Sugar Room a lot because there was live music there. That girlfriend never would show up, or that ex-girlfriend would never show up there. She'd go to all the other bars, and I knew she didn't go to the Sugar Room because she didn't like it. And then I started making new friends and meeting all these people that were doing the music there. And they were all great people, and they included me right away. And I just started feeling that they need to be known. Unfortunately, like, the cities has a great music scene, but unfortunately that great music scene tends to overshadow what's going on in the smaller communities around Minnesota. And I just kind of felt that I needed to do something to help shine a little bit of light on our community. And, I started, like, I had friends that started moving up to the cities to make it big, and I just got sick of my new friends moving away from me. And it's like, I just thought that if I can somehow help this scene in Mankato get bigger and better, or just shine a little bit of a light on it, there's a possibility that my friends can stay here and still do what they need to do as musicians and artists. And during the Lunatics time, I created their websites and did a lot of the online work for them. And I've always been a computer person. I have a computer science degree from MSU. And I just thought, and I've always wanted to be on the radio. So I just thought, well, since I know the internet and I've always wanted to do radio, why don't I just create a internet radio station? And started collecting everybody's music and talking to people about what I'm planning on doing, and yeah, there it is. The first live booked venue show was booked by my friend C-Dubs, who's on FuzzTalkRadio with me, down at the Sugar Room. Set up it was a Super Bowl party, and I booked a couple bands to play during the halftime, and then during the broadcast, I brought my computer and live set up and hosted a Super Bowl party with like Jordan Carr and C-Dubs and all those folks.
Was the idea of starting an internet radio station at that time kind of crazy? I mean, I feel like everyone kind of has a podcast now, or like there are a lot of people who are able to do broadcasts in a small way, but back then, I don't think I can think of anyone who I knew who was doing that.
No, I mean, kind of like, like Pandora was big around 2010. So I kind of thought of it that, in that light, other than just having local music being played on it. It was an idea that I had during the Lunatics time, that it would be nice to set up a streaming service. So somehow, if you go to our website, you get to listen to Lunatics Radio and listen to all the music that we have created, and then music that of other friends that we perform with, type of thing. And then once everything broke up, of course, none of that happened, and it was just kind of extension of an idea that I had during Lunatics. And then, I don't know, with any computer stuff, it's not tough for me to wrap my mind around what I want to get done. And once I get that going, it's pretty. It's not simple, but the biggest challenge I had was knowing that I wanted to do this. I wanted to do it from correctly from the start instead of just doing it. And I knew that I needed to somehow pay for royalties for the music that I play. And so I did a lot of research on that, and then just realized that there's the pros, Seska and ASCAP and BMI and all these different people that you have to pay. And so I looked into seeing if it would be cost efficient to do it all by myself or find some type of service. And finding that service was the toughest part, dealing with that, because I didn't want to. If there's any possibility of Fuzz Talk Radio becoming a bigger thing, not to have to run back and try to correct my actions that I did in the past.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
How much local music do you own? I mean, over 10 years, you must have accumulated a lot.
Yeah. The server that I currently pay for is 25 gigs worth of storage space, and I don't have that filled up.
And it's just music.
And it's just music, yeah.
That's a lot.
I mean, that space can be reserved for like an hour, talk show, or an hour, things or whatever. But it is all just music, and I have probably about half of that full right now of music.
Interesting. And the shows, you've been organizing shows for just years. What's the promotional side of Fuzz Talk Radio like? I mean, when I look around town, I see Fuzz Talk Radio just kind of on a lot of advertisements, posters and such. And sometimes I wonder, sometimes it makes sense, and sometimes I'm like, oh, how did these two people get networked?
Well, a big help in a lot of that is a lot of the musicians and artists, like medium artists, cross paths, and a lot of us are just really close friends. And so with the crossing paths, it makes it easier for people to recognize the logo or approach me to help them do something or promote something. Like a good example of that would be, I think anyway, would be for about 6 years during this time, I was the Mankato Roller Derby's DJ. And I've never DJed before in my life. I've never done live music myself. I don't like going on a stage myself. I always, look at it as the artists, like the artists need the attention, not the promoter, not the person that's putting the show on. But they approached me because they knew I'd book shows and whatnot, and I was, pretty good at spreading the word of what's going on around town, and just approached me and asked me if I wanted to DJ for them. And I guess, and along with that, logo gets on into the pamphlets, logo gets onto the flyers. But most of the stuff that you do see my logo on, I at 100% am directly involved in. I have at least some finger in the making of the thing. If that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, one of the big ones that I've seen your involvement with a lot recently is the hip hop showcases that I guess have come to some sort of a recent close.
Yeah.
But they were going along at Red Rocks for a while with Robert Colby.
Yep. Intelligent design. Yeah. So that's one thing. It's like I always want to make sure everybody knows that Fuzz Talk Radio is all inclusive of all genres. However, it is a little bit more hip hop centric because I do have a lot of friends that are hip hop, and then the shows that we've recently been putting on have all been just hip hop. And that all kind of has to do with just what was in the need at the time. So yeah, we've had the Mankato Hip Hop Showcase at Red Rocks for the last 2 years.
I think so.
And then right prior to that was the Fuzz Talk Radio Thursday Night Drinking Club, which was just a show that I put on since Red Sky days, which was a long time ago now. But
were there musical performances associated with that one?
Yeah. So at Red Sky was really when I started cutting my teeth at putting on shows, because my friend C-Dubs, who prior had been pretty much booking all the Red Sky shows, moved up to the cities, and he told me that I needed to now take the torch and start providing shows for people, because who else will do it? And during that time, that was absolutely the case. We didn't have a whole lot of artists booking their own shows. We had a couple other promotional companies that would put on shows, which was great, but they kind of centered on just one genre of music. So I started doing Tuesday night shows at Red Rocks just to kind of see if I could do it, if I could get the names out there.
With Red Sky, you mean?
Red Sky, I'm sorry. And so since I had been collecting all these different names and different genres and different people, I didn't want to just do like a hip hop showcase. I wanted to be able to showcase everybody. So I would start the show off with a comedian for like a half an hour or so, starting around 9, and then 9:30, and then 10 o'clock would be a solo artist, and then after the solo artist would be a main band, and then right after that would be a hip hop group. And that worked really well because hip hop, normally the hip hop group would at the end of their set start getting into freestyles and start including other people up on the stage. So it was just a nice blend of different talent and different voices, and I loved it because the punk fans might not be going to the hip hop shows and vice versa, but since their friend's punk band is playing at this show and there's hip hop right after their friend's band, there's a bigger chance for them to start crossing paths and start to become friends with new people and start generating more relationships outside of just the genres. And then Red Sky closed and Moonshiner opened, and the same owner opened up Moonshiner, so he asked me if I wanted to start doing the same thing, but on Thursday nights, because he needed help getting people in the doors on Thursday nights. And so then I just started doing the same thing at Moonshiner. And then Moonshiner closed, and New Bohemia needed help getting people in their doors on Thursday nights.
Game night.
So since they didn't have a stage for bands or anything like that, I just created it into a video game night where I brought down my video game consoles and just hung out with people, and then gathered a bunch of people during the night. So then we can bring everybody from video game night over to Red Rocks and help support the open mic, Ocho's open mic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the video game night was where you and I kind of started to hang out a bit more. That was a fun one.
Yeah, it was a great time. Just come down, drink some beers, play some video games, and then enjoy live music after that.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I've noticed that seems consistent with all your I guess your time involved in music is, it seems like you're really well able to adapt to the changing environment of the area and whatever, whether it's changing venues or changing what needs to get done for each venue. And so that's really
Well, thank you.
cool. And I guess, like, I also think hope you're needed now with all this too. We got a lot of change-ups happening.
I don't know how I've become so comfortable with change over the time, but just throughout history of my life, things change, and I've always found that going against that change is a lot harder than trying to go with it and just trying to look for the positive in the positivity in the future of those changes. And I commented on that with Red Rocks closing. It's like, yeah, this sucks that our venue is closing right now. But just remember, we've had many venues close before, and there's always something that comes up. There's always something new.
Yeah.
And you just got to look forward and be positive about what the future is going to bring.
Yeah, it's a good way of looking at it, I think.
There are a lot of underutilized stages in town. I mean, that's what Red Rocks was, to be totally transparent about it. Is like, it was just like it's like, this could be a venue if anyone tried,
Yeah.
And
the difference between, and I'm not trying to put any shade on any places or anything like that, but the difference that we have found throughout the years of places that have a stage compared to places that have a stage and are successful with their music is that the owners that we've dealt with let us do whatever we want. Like, they give us a guarantee, and that's the biggest thing too, is that they give us a guarantee, so we know that we're not doing this for free for promotion of the bar. They actually understand that we're bringing a service to them. And then with the service that we bring, there aren't any restrictions. As long as we're safe and courteous about what we do, and as long as there's people coming in the doors to buy drinks, do whatever the hell you want. And that's what Red Rocks did for us. That's what Red Sky did for us. That's what the What's Up Lounge does for us consistently. Moonshiners, Sugar Room, all of them, Choppers back in the day, they all were like, okay, yeah, here's some money, do what you need to do. Just make sure you bring people in the door. And having that trust in the process helps so much. And I think that's something that is really hard for some establishments to fully understand, because it is their place, and they don't want problems to happen at their place. They don't want fights. They don't want things to be broken. They don't want controversy to come out of the bar. And I totally get that, because that's them. But you got so it's really hard to give up some of that trust, but you have to if you want to be a successful venue. You have to trust your artists.
Yeah, well, I really do believe that you couldn't pin any kind of thing like that on any type of event. Like, if you put alcohol into a situation, that situation could be a Tuesday afternoon, and eventually you're going to get two people who don't like each other run into one another.
100%. 100%. It can happen across the board, no matter what. And alcohol likes to fuel those things. And it being in public space, you can't stop other people from running into each other. And and knowing that that's a risk for anything, anytime, anywhere. You got to be just aware of it, and then you handle that situation if it arises, in the correct manner.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. Would you have any specific tips for someone who's a newer artist in this area to try to figure out? You've been around a while.
Yeah. I don't know how much those tips really mean anything right now with the pandemic and everything. The biggest tip is just to make sure that you stay healthy and wear a mask. But before this, definitely absolutely get out there. That's the biggest thing. Get out to those open mics, even though you might think open mics beneath you. You still do it. Because it is never. None of these events are ever beneath anybody else. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody's on the same level. Sure, somebody might not have the best stage presence, but that's what this is for. And then just practice. And then just reach out and help as many people you can in your community, become a community member, be involved. That's what Mankato's about. That's where, we're not like a clique per se or anything like that. But like I said, a lot of people know each other. A lot of people are friends. And if you come off as somebody that is better than somebody else or come to the party with a negative attitude, people will know that, and people won't want to work with you. It's all about positivity, and it's all about making sure when you're striving with other people too. You're bringing other people up along with you, and biggest thing is just get out there and be involved.
I see that a lot. When I look at the groups in Mankato that I see of having like a lot of, forward momentum, they are people who are like constantly like energizing those around them, not just to be other artists too, but like their fans as well. Like they're really, they deal with those people because we do all know one another to some capacity. And it is hard to deal with any kind of really, anything. We're all in each other's business.
Yeah, and it's a good thing, I think, because we're all here to help our community grow, and if you don't want to be part of that growth, then that's fine. You can go do your own thing, and I'm not like saying that you're not going to make it or anything. That's fine. It's just know that we are here to help, and that's the biggest thing. And
well, abandoning the group that's closest to you geographically is a bad idea, because that's just a good core, a good base, and especially getting to know Mankato and what's going on with the music scene. Like, you hear names like Ocho come up a lot. I hear your name come up all the time, and Intelligent Design with the hip hop. So unless you're in it and you're participating with you guys and everybody else, you're just like, that's a tough spot to be in if you don't know any of the people doing it.
Like, once again, like Ocho does a great job of getting himself out there and locking down those shows and open mics to make sure that other people have a chance to have a voice, and that's a big thing, and that's something that Robert, the Intelligent, and I try to do with the hip hop showcases, is not just limit the artists to just our friends or specific areas here. We try to bring a bunch of talent and a bunch of different walks of life to the table, and they all become friends, and we all support each other.
Well, that's where even when we started our band, what I learned was the most important thing was getting gigs, even small ones, because you're meeting other bands from other areas, and you're meeting promoters and people. It's just all about really getting out there and doing it.
And I know it's cliche to say, but you never know who's watching, and especially in a small town like this, you never know if I'm going to be at that open mic and really like your set and then want to start playing your music on the radio, It's like, you never know. And so you always bring, no matter what the show is, you always bring your A game. You always, if there's 3 people or there's 1,000 people, you perform like there's 1,000. You always perform to your 100%, because those 3 people might end up meaning the world to you, and you're not in the future, and you'll never know it unless if you actually bring you act like they're just as important as if there was 1,000 of them.
Yeah,
I can speak to the truth of that. When our very first gig ever that we played with Beige Interior. I walked to the bar after the set, and Adam Steinke, friend of the show, and he runs Solstice, was like, "Hey, you guys want to play Solstice?"
Yep.
That was our first ever show, and and that just like speaks to the size of the community and like what's going on, you know.
You never know who that next person you're talking to has involvement in. So like, why not? I always go by the golden rule of treat other people the way you want to be treated. You don't just push them aside right away because you don't know. And I'm not saying to do that because there's possible opportunity, in the future with that specific person. It's just you do the right thing and the right things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Good karma.
Because it's a good way to live. Yeah.
That's great. Tell me a little bit more about your show, The Rabbit Hole. I'm not very familiar with that.
The Rabbit Hole was, like I said, it's on hiatus right now because the host, his shifts at work changed, so he's not able to do it right now. But it's an artist from a dude named Ryan Rudd from the cities. He is he's a musician from a band called the Rockford Mules from the cities. And it's just a morning show, 10:30 to 1. He is very eclectic styles of music. He has a lot of different types of themes that he likes to put through the show, each show that he does during the day. So like this week will be all this style of music, and then he has a lot of audience participation through his Facebook feeds. And even though he's on hiatus with the live show itself, he's still interacting with his audience on the Facebook and everything. So, but yeah, it's tough right now because they're on a hiatus. But
yeah, everything got changed up with all this COVID thing. So,
what's your longest running show?
Other than my specific show, which is called the Fuzzy Playlist, which is inherent because I'm me, gotta run stuff. But Dagger Chuck's Dagger Radio on Sunday nights has been the longest running show. He's been there with me almost from the beginning. I think it was about 4 years in. Chuck is a co-host with me on the KMSU show that we do on Friday nights. Our great friend and my mentor Edgar Byrne found me one time doing a live broadcast from Mankato and asked me what I was doing and asked if I wanted to go up on KMSU with them to talk about Fuzz Talk Radio. And I think that was 3 years into Fuzz Talk Radio. And then after being interviewed by them on the KMSU show, they asked me to start being on the show more often with them. And then I started talking to Chuck about how he wanted another show outside of KMSU so he could play more of his punk rock music. And I think it was 3 years into Fuzz Talk Radio, so probably about 2013 he jumped on board. And yeah, it's all punk rock, skateboard style music. Has lots of different underground bands contacting him and sending him music. He's good friends with like Tony Hawk, and he has an interview coming up with Tony Hawk here soon, the skateboarder. And yeah, Chuck's something else. There's a time period where it was just his show. I wasn't even doing my own show. I just I was kind of going through stuff myself and just kind of let Fuzz Talk Radio run itself. And Chuck was the only live show and kept everything going. And he has tons of connections and helps get everything promoted. And he does a really good job. And that's Sunday nights from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m.
That's a long show.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it, and I don't know how he gets so much music, but he does.
Well, there's a lot of that here in Mankato. A lot of love for that skate punk style, and I don't know. We had some of that culture here. I don't want to say long ago because I think it's still here. It's just not at the forefront anymore.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we Edgar and Chuck were in as Jason Knutson you guys had as an interview one time. Were the main drivers of that scene. And that was 90s and then up until the mid 2000s, I would say, and then a bunch of hip hop started coming in and started taking over, not taking over the scene, just kind of branching out or whatever, I guess.
Well, I think a lot of things changed around that period of time too, with like how things could be organized in Mankato as well. I mean, just I don't know if that is exactly the same time, but it used to be a very different culture downtown. How the city approached alcohol and gatherings in general. I think that changed, and I think I'm not certain that it was exactly that time.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes together while not going together at the same time, if that makes sense. You know, like if you're going to have extreme changes like we did with alcohol in Mankato, like there used to be cup nights where for $5 you can get a cup of rum and Coke, and for free get that refilled the rest of the night. You know, there was $5 pitcher nights where you can get 2 pitchers for $5. And even though that's not directly tied into the music scene of being what it was or whatever, it still will have an effect when you change that.
Yeah.
If you change a little bit of this is going to get a ripple effect, if that makes sense. And then along with that, during that time too, and like I said, I don't know if it's specifically that day or that year, but just the time frame of change in Mankato, like house parties started really getting shut down really quickly. There was because I know that there was a big basement scene with a lot of the punk stuff and people having shows at their own houses and stuff, and then you don't really find that around here anymore at all. There's a place called the Cherry Pit off of Cherry Street that was doing that for a while, for a couple of years, and then just shut down. And when the cops came to shut them down, you know, they checked everybody for alcohol consumption because a lot of them were underage, and there was like 1 out of the 80 people had alcohol in them system. So they're like doing a good job of limiting people from drinking and stuff, but still, the story that I heard is that they shut them down because they don't have a license to play live music, which is a thing. Yes, you know.
Even for someone's house?
Yeah, you're gonna do live performance. You gotta have that license, or as that's what they told them, or whatever. I don't know. That was kind of the story that came out of that, but
that's peculiar.
I don't know. It's but like with social changes in a community like this, it is going to have ripple effects into other aspects of the community, no matter if it's art or music or just your daily life. You know, you'll see those changes.
Yeah, and we do for the size of Mankato, we have kind of an odd relationship with the word venue. You know, a lot of places I've seen be like, oh, we have lots of live music. I remember there's like kind of this funny post from the Wine Cafe I remember a couple of years ago they put out where it was like, well, what you got to realize that we're a venue here. It's like, well, I mean, you don't really sell yourself.
Yeah, that was a comment about me.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I don't know the story.
Yeah, there was. I don't know if it was. I think it was a Free Press article that I listed a bunch of different venues, and the current owner of the time, like a great guy, bless his heart, I think that he felt excluded because the Wine Cafe wasn't a part of that list that I put out there. And I didn't mean to not mention the Wine Cafe. It's just that I wasn't fully involved with booking shows there, and like the kind of the venues that I mentioned were, you know, Red Sky, you know, and the What's Up Lounge, you know, and but yeah, the owner got really pissed off at me. He sent me messages saying, "Hey, you know, I am a venue too." And I'm like, yes, I know, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean it that way at all.
But it is, there is something there. There is you would even look at a place that would be a good venue. And I'll drop a name, Buster's. I think that some people might not even realize that they have one of the best stages in town.
They absolutely do. Unfortunately for the shows in our past, and then when I've looked at booking Fuzz Talk Radio shows, being on top of the hill is a huge challenge. One thing with Fuzz Talk Radio shows from the beginning, I've always wanted to be able to provide free shows if at all possible. It's tough at the What's Up Lounge to be able to do that because their structure is a little bit is totally different than any other places that we've worked with, because it's just the way they work. Like you have to have a cover to be able to pay the bands, and then that way the attendance will be able to pay the bands or whatever. But I always really wanted to provide free shows for audiences, to get a guarantee from the venue that I can directly pay the bands right away, so they know that they're not going to go home with empty pockets, or that they're just getting beer for their performance. And then with getting a guarantee to pay the bands allows me to have the doors open for free, because then I don't have to worry about the audience members having to pay $3 to get in. And unfortunately, saying $3 is not only $3 to a lot of people. That $3 can be used to buy another beer, and so that at a different establishment that doesn't have music. So having open doors for free, I always just thought that would be so much easier to get more people in and drawn to the music. So in future shows, those new people will want to come to the future shows. With Buster's, you're on top of the hill, and I don't want anybody drinking and driving, and it's a lot easier to get home from downtown than it is on top of the hill. And then 2, it's just on top of the hill. Nobody goes up on top of the hill to go drink.
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
The crowd is downtown, and you get that walking traffic to just you have a free show. That walking traffic more or less will just gradually come in and fill up the bar, and that's like the only reason. I mean, I've had a couple shows up at Buster's in the past, but that's the only reason. Is just location.
Mm-hmm. And Madison in general, I think a lot of people have issues with like whatever on Madison, because there's lots of spots I like on Madison, and I was like yeah, I'd love to have a beer there, but it's all like I just never happened to be there.
yeah. I can think of a couple places that I feel the same, and it's tough. It's tough especially knowing that you're gonna drink and you're on top of the hill, and I mean, yeah, you can call it cab service, but downtown you can jump on a bus, you can cab it, you can normally if you're downtown, it's a lot better chance for you to be able to walk home than if you're on top of the hill and having to walk down that hill or whatever. I just don't want people drinking and driving. That's the big thing,
Mankato's goofy. Like I totally agree with all of what you're saying with it stuff being on the hill and stuff, but at the same time, I laugh at myself because that is so close.
No, it is.
And I grew up in Plymouth, and 20 minutes to get anywhere, and like here, 20 minutes will take you just clear to the other side and to middle of nowhere. And so it's funny the way that it scales.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at unfortunately, the What's Up Lounge has that issue.
Mm-hmm.
They are downtown, and it is only like 2 or 3 blocks away from main downtown. But since it's not main downtown, you don't have people walking, wanting to go. And that was one big thing that they're like talking about changes earlier. What's Up Lounge went through some changes on how they ran shows, because there was an incident there at whatever, and so they changed somehow how they ran shows, and the big thing was that they decided that they're going to only have shows that run until midnight, 12:30 tops, which in my mind has helped attendance at those shows a lot more, because people are now going to the What's Up Lounge for pre-gaming to go down to the main downtown, and since they know that the show is going to end at like midnight, 12:30, they don't feel like they're going to be trapped and have the fear of missing out of what's going on in main downtown. They can go to the What's Up Lounge show at 8, leave by midnight, and then still be able to go down to the main downtown and experience all the craziness that's going on down there. Before, a lot of What's Up shows would last until 2 a.m. And so to see the main performer, you're there till 1:30, and then you're starting to sit there and you're starting to wonder, what else is going on around town? I've been stuck in this spot, this whole time, and once it's done, everything else is closed. So that's helped the What's Up Lounge shows a lot. But yeah, it's just weird, not that far away, but people don't want to go.
It's true.
It's weird.
I used to walk on Thursday evenings. My shift would end at 11, and I would go back to Red Rocks late night to like check and see if the bartenders were doing well. But oftentimes I would spend that hour and a half at the wine cafe, and I would tell people as I was leaving at 11, I'd say, "Well, hey, I'm going to the wine cafe," and they'd be like, "How are you going to get there?" It's 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
Like, it's real close.
Yeah, that Bermuda Triangle really changes people's perspective on distance. That's for sure.
You can like walk the whole inside in malls the whole way.
Yeah. There's secret passageways to get through. So like even during the rainstorms and snowstorms, you can get to the wine cafe without having to get cold. But yeah, I don't know.
That's interesting. So I got a question for you. What, with the different venues that have happened, Red Sky, you got the What's Up, and then we had Red Rocks. I'm curious about the separation between whatever their regular bar thing is versus the venue, because, well, I guess I'm mainly curious about Red Sky because I never went there. But with Red Rocks, it was a bar first and a venue second. What's Up's venue first, bar second. What was the Red Sky like, and how did it play relative to those other two?
It wanted to be a bar first and then venue second. They had a great big bar, and but what happened is that when they opened up, it just didn't, like, what they were trying to do with the space just didn't fit in with what was going on downtown and the culture. It was almost a little too elegant.
It's more like a lounge thing.
And like it was just not working. And they had a stage, and Sugar Room was starting to close down, and a group of friends and I, we called it the Shanghai Wednesdays because we shanghaied the Red Sky. And started, so we had our open mics on Wednesday nights at the Sugar Room, and that would end probably around 11 or so, and then we'd take everybody from the Sugar Room and go to the Red Sky and just go on stage and just start doing open mic there. And then eventually that just kind of evolved into weekly Wednesday night shows, and then Rudy, the owner, must have just realized that, hey, we're bringing people in, and the only way we're doing that is by providing music. And a lot of these people that are coming in are all musicians themselves too, so they all want to play music on the stage. And I remember it wasn't really a stage, it was just a place to stand. And then we started convincing Rudy to put in more money into having a sound guy and having good sound equipment, reconstructing the stage into something more useful. And like I said, it wanted to be a bar first and then venue, but it was definitely a venue / bar because people mostly went there for the music and the live events that were going on.
So it evolved into more of a venue.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's interesting. Well,
I'm almost out of words. I've spoken.
Me too. We just hit 50 minutes.
Ooh, that's. You got anything you wanna plug or say or shout out or?
Let's see. Make sure to support Fuzz Talk Radio as much as you can. I try to stay away. I don't make any money on it. I created it to try to help promote and, like I said, shine a light on the Mankato musicians and Southern Minnesota artists as much as possible through an internet radio station, and then also provide a canvas for radio hosts to play. And try to, if you're ever wanting to do a radio show, hit me up. I have this platform. I let you do whatever you want as long as it's not racist or homophobic and not too political. But right now it's really hard to stay away from that. But as long as you're not racist or homophobic, come on over. If you want to dabble in radio, I have a show. You can start up a show. I have time slots. And like I said, I don't make any money off this other than just merchandise that I might sell here or there. I don't have sponsorships. I don't do advertisements, revenue coming in because I don't like ads and sponsorships. It's like I just don't want to make my listeners deal with listening to Walmart ads or whatever. So if you can support any way, that'd be awesome. Go to our web store, FuzzTalkShop.com. Buy a T-shirt. Listen to our shows. Download our podcast. Tell other people about Fuzz Talk Radio. That's supporting. That helps immensely, and I owe my gratitude towards you. And then every Monday night is our sports show, Fuzz Jock Radio at 10:30 Monday nights. Dagger Radio Sunday nights from 7 to 1, and then just a bunch of other stuff coming up. Help your local musician and artist and support them as much as you can, and stay safe and stay healthy.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Well, I'm really curious to see how Mankato comes out of this all. So I'm looking forward to having you on the team of the musicians, and
I'm pretty positive for the future.
Next.
Every time it's looked bleak, something comes out, and I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned over this year. No matter how dark or deep the waters seem, there's always a light that you need to grab onto. Just focus on that light, keep your head above those waters, and everything will be okay.
Right on. Well, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yep.
It's good to chat with you.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Really do.
Awesome.